They tell you love conquers all, that warmth wins hearts, that if you stay kind, patient, understanding, the world will return your gentleness with respect. But Machiavelli knew better. He understood what most refuse to see, that love without boundaries becomes a weapon against you, that kindness without consequence turns you into prey, and that the people closest to you are often the ones who will hurt you deepest, not because they're evil, but because they know you won't fight back. You've been taught that being cold-blooded means being heartless, that protecting yourself means losing your humanity. But Machiavelli would laugh at such weakness. He knew the difference between cruelty and clarity, between being heartless and being smart. The cold-blooded man doesn't lack emotion. He controls when and how he shows it. He doesn't stop loving. He stops letting love make him stupid. Because here's what they don't tell you about love. It makes you blind. It removes your filters. It turns your strengths into weaknesses. When you love someone, your family, your friends, your partner, you stop calculating. You stop protecting your position. You assume their intentions match your own. And that assumption will destroy you. Your enemies already fear you. They prepare for your moves, respect your silence, watch their step around your power. But the people you love, they grow comfortable. They expect your loyalty without earning it. They demand your forgiveness without changing. They test your limits because they know you won't enforce consequences. And slowly, without realizing it, they turn you from a force into a tool. This isn't about becoming cruel. This is about becoming aware. Aware of how people change when they get too close. Aware of what you sacrifice when you become emotionally transparent. Aware of what love becomes when it goes unquestioned. Entitlement. Machiavelli saw it in his time, and you see it in yours. The ones who claim to love you most are often the ones who respect you least. They interrupt you in conversations, dismiss your advice, take your help for granted, and react with anger when you finally say no. Why? Because they know your love overrides your logic. They know you'll apologize first, explain yourself endlessly, and never actually walk away. That knowledge is their power over you. But what if you stopped giving them that power? What if you loved with limits, cared with conditions, and showed warmth only when it was earned? What if you became cold-blooded enough to see clearly, even when your heart wants to stay blind? The cold-blooded lover is not an emotionless monster. He is a strategic guardian of his own worth. He gives, but not endlessly. He forgives, but not without change. He stays, but not without respect. And when someone violates his boundaries, he doesn't argue or explain. He disappears. Quietly, completely, without drama or negotiation. Let me show you how this works in practice. How you can love deeply while protecting fiercely. How you can stay warm without becoming weak. How you can maintain your humanity while refusing to be anyone's emotional doormat. The 5 tests they will always run. People close to you don't consciously decide to test your limits, but they will. It's human nature. They push boundaries to see how much they can get away with, how far your patience extends, how much of yourself you'll sacrifice to keep them comfortable. Machiavelli knew these tests were coming, and he prepared for them. You must do the same. Test 1. The entitlement test. This starts small. They stop saying thank you, stop asking permission, stop considering what you've already given. In their mind, you've become theirs. Your time, your energy, your resources, all assumed, never appreciated. And the moment you hesitate to give, you're suddenly selfish. You've changed. You're not the person they fell in love with. Machiavelli would smile at this manipulation. He'd recognize it for what it is: the sound of someone mourning the loss of their advantage over you. They're not upset because you've become cruel. They're upset because you've stopped being predictable. The cold-blooded response? Let them be upset. Don't explain why you're pulling back. Don't justify your new boundaries. Simply say, "I've recalibrated," and let that silence hang. Those who truly care will adjust. Those who only cared about what you provided will reveal themselves through their anger. Test 2. The guilt reflex. You set a boundary. They get emotional. You say no. They bring up your history together. You protect your time. They call you distant. This isn't conversation. It's manipulation. They've learned that guilt is your weakness. If they can make you feel bad about protecting yourself, they can make you reverse any decision. Most people fail this test because they think guilt means they're wrong. But Machiavelli knew better. Guilt is often the echo of someone else's disappointment that you're no longer easy to control. The person trying to guilt you isn't concerned about your well-being. They're concerned about losing access to it. Stay cold. Hold your line. Let them perform their emotional theater while you remain unmoved. If they respected your boundary, they wouldn't be trying to negotiate it away. Test 3. The loyalty loop. You've been consistent, supportive, present. But when you're the only one maintaining this energy, it becomes expected rather than appreciated. They stop checking in, stop reciprocating, start showing up only when it benefits them. And when you finally pull back, they don't panic because they love you. They panic because they just lost their emotional insurance policy. Machiavelli understood this dynamic perfectly. If your loyalty is predictable, he would say, it will be exploited before it's appreciated. The solution isn't to stop being loyal. It's to make your loyalty conditional on theirs, match their energy, mirror their investment, give them exactly what they give you, nothing more. Test 4. Just this once. This is the most dangerous test because it starts so small. Can you cover this just once? Can you cancel your plans just this time? Can you overlook this mistake just today? But the moment you bend, you've shown them you're bendable. They've learned your values are negotiable as long as they stay close enough to apply pressure. The cold-blooded mind recognizes this immediately. There is no just once with people who don't respect boundaries. There's only the first crack in your armor that they'll spend months widening until you're completely exposed. Test 5. The "you're too harsh" defense. When you finally enforce consequences, when you stop being endlessly patient, when you speak with clarity instead of softness, they'll flip your strength into sin. You're too cold, too harsh, too different from who you used to be. But what they really mean is, you're too hard to manipulate now. They don't miss your warmth. They miss access to the version of you who absorbed their chaos without complaint. They don't want the old you back because it was better. They want it back because it was easier to exploit. Let them call you what they want. Let them rewrite your character to fit their pain. Because when you fear their opinion more than your own peace, you've already lost the game. Being cold-blooded with loved ones isn't about building walls. It's about installing filters. You don't keep people out completely. You test who deserves to get in. And once inside, no one stays without proving they belong there. Machiavelli didn't build defenses to hide from the world. He built them to control access to his world. Your emotional center is your kingdom. Who gets to enter should be determined by their behavior, not their claims of love. Rule 1. Never explain your emotional distance. When you need space, You don't owe anyone an explanation. When you go silent, you don't need to justify why. When you say no, you don't need to provide a dissertation on your reasoning. The more you explain, the more leverage you give them to negotiate your boundaries away. Most people explain because they want to be understood. But understanding isn't the goal. Respect is. And respect comes from consistency, not explanation. When someone asks why you're acting different, don't argue. Don't unload your reasons. Simply say, "I've adjusted," and let that be enough. That silence, that refusal to emotionally bleed on command, will either earn respect or reveal who was never capable of giving it. Rule 2. Set consequences, not conditions. Weak people set conditions. "Don't talk to me like that again. Please don't disrespect me. If you do this, I'll be upset." They're begging for better treatment, hoping the other person will suddenly develop respect. The cold-blooded approach designs structures that make disrespect expensive. You don't say, "Don't do that." You show them, "When you do that, I disappear," and you don't return when they panic. You return when you decide, if ever. Boundaries don't beg. They act. That's how they earn power. Rule 3. Never negotiate through emotion. Once someone knows you cry when pressured, panic when ignored, or rush to fix things when they go silent, they stop respecting your mind and start playing your emotions. They've found your remote control, and they'll use it whenever they want to change your behavior. Machiavelli would never allow this. Emotional clarity is your shield. Once it's pierced, your opponent stops aiming at your logic. Protect yourself by being unreadable under pressure. No long text messages explaining your feelings. No, "I just feel like" conversations. No impulsive re-entry after being hurt. Your silence becomes your leverage. Your stillness becomes your stance. And if they want access to your softness, they'll have to earn it through consistent respect. Rule 4. Define what you tolerate and never wobble. Most people have boundaries that change depending on who's asking, how long they've known them, or how emotionally tired they are. That's not strength. That's emotional currency inflation. You need black and white rules. I don't respond to yelling. Once I create space, it stays until I choose to reopen it. I don't reward apologies without changed behavior. Then you follow through without exception. People don't test what's enforced. They test what's flexible. Machiavelli didn't punish often, but when he did, it was surgical, cold, and final. You must operate the same way, or they'll keep gambling with your forgiveness. Rule 5. Don't fear being seen as harsh. This is where most people collapse. They know they're being used. They know their peace is being disturbed. But the moment they enforce consequences, they feel guilty because society has convinced them that being firm equals being cruel. But Machiavelli didn't fear being called harsh. He feared being called easy. And you should adopt the same mindset. Let them call you cold. Let them say you've changed. Let them rewrite your character to fit their narrative of loss. Because when you fear their opinion more than your own reality, you surrender power for perception. And perception without respect is worthless. Being cold-blooded doesn't mean turning off your heart. It means defending it with precision. Most people love like they're going to war, but they enter the battlefield completely unarmed. They give everything, forgive endlessly, and hope their sacrifice will be recognized and returned. But Machiavelli knew hope isn't strategy, and kindness without discipline is suicide in disguise. The strategic lover builds gates, not walls. Behind those gates is a simple rule. Only those who prove their consistency gain access to vulnerability. Your warmth must be earned, not assumed. Your care must be conditional, not because you're cruel, but because you're valuable. This starts with how you process hurt. When someone disrespects you, you don't react, you calculate. When someone lies to you, you don't spiral, you observe. When someone withdraws, you don't chase, you interpret. This internal shift changes everything. Instead of asking, "Why did they do this to me?" you ask, "What did this teach me about them?" Instead of taking betrayal personally, you extract intelligence from it. Instead of crying over what you lost, you catalogue who's capable of losing you and adjust their access accordingly. The cold-blooded mind turns pain into positioning. It converts disappointment into data. It sees every hurt as information about someone's character rather than evidence of your own worth. Do you know what scares people more than anger? More than shouting? More than threats? It's the person who sees betrayal and says nothing. They wait. They distance themselves. They remove access, not with fury, but with indifference. When you react too quickly, you're not dangerous. You're predictable. People can manage your explosions because they know exactly how to trigger them. But the person who absorbs betrayal quietly, who processes hurt internally, who makes calculated decisions about people's access to their world, that person becomes someone no one wants to cross twice. Machiavelli didn't act on impulse. He acted on advantage. He taught us that power isn't having the strongest emotion, it's having the strongest timing. Every time you feel disrespected, disappointed, or replaced, you have two choices. Take it personally or turn it into intelligence. The average person chooses the first option and suffers. The cold-blooded person chooses the second and grows stronger. When someone hurts you, ask yourself, what can I learn about their character? How should this change their access to me? What does this reveal about their true intentions? What boundaries do I need to install to prevent this from happening again? This isn't about becoming paranoid or cynical. It's about becoming precise. You're not building walls to keep everyone out. You're building filters to let the right people in. Here's where most people get confused. They think being cold-blooded means becoming a monster, that protecting yourself requires losing your humanity. But Machiavelli walked a different path, the path of strategic empathy. You can show mercy without losing your stance. You can be kind without being naive. You can help someone you've distanced yourself from if they've demonstrated genuine growth. The danger isn't in the mercy. It's in forgetting why you created distance in the first place. People think pulling away equals power, but Machiavelli knew your controlled presence is far more influential than your absence. You show up briefly, speak with clarity, and exit while they still feel the impact. You become the reminder, not the enemy. Not the emotional wreck. Not the source of drama, but the calm, composed person who's always 3 steps ahead. The one who can change the temperature of any room simply by entering or leaving it. That's authority without aggression. That's power without cruelty. You don't stop being kind. You stop being careless with your kindness. You give it slowly, after observation, with internal checkpoints and clear exit strategies if things go wrong. If people call this transactional, let them. Unconditional giving sounds noble until it's weaponized against your peace. You now give only what aligns with your vision, your energy, and your emotional health. That's not selfish. That's self-command. You're not meant to become stone. You're meant to become a mirror, reflecting others clearly, giving warmth only when it's earned, staying calm regardless of who throws the first punch. This is Machiavellian empathy, strategic, conditional, and unwavering in its boundaries. You love people enough to hold them accountable. You care about them enough to refuse enabling their worst behaviors. You're kind enough to show them exactly what they'll lose if they don't respect what they have. Knowledge without application is worthless. Machiavelli didn't theorize power, he embodied it. And if you want to maintain cold-blooded boundaries in a world that constantly pressures you to shrink back into emotional servitude, you need systems, habits, and rituals that make your protection automatic. Habit 1. Move without emotional announcement. You don't tell people you're creating distance. You don't announce your boundaries. You don't explain your decisions. You simply move. You slow your responses. You stop over-explaining. You don't re-engage once you've withdrawn. Real boundaries aren't written in your words. They're demonstrated through your consistency. Machiavelli didn't need people to agree with his silence. He just made sure they felt it. Habit 2. Stay polite, never over-familiar. Your warmth should not be automatic. It should be earned and maintained. Greet with composure. Compliment with purpose. Exit while you're still respected. This balance keeps your image disciplined and clean. The emotionally familiar person is easy to use. The one who maintains precision is impossible to manipulate. Habit 3. Reflect before reacting. Someone disappoints you. You don't snap, you observe. Someone crosses your line. You don't escalate, you catalog it. Being cold-blooded isn't about having no emotions. It's about never letting emotion move before thought. This pause, this internal filter, becomes your edge. When others spiral, panic, or sulk, your stillness intimidates them more than any outburst could. Habit 4. Never reopen. What you closed without requalification, you ended something for a reason. Don't return without a new reason. If you ended a friendship, relationship, or partnership, let them re-earn access to the version of you that trusted them. Too many people return because time has passed, apologies were offered, or they think things might be different now. But time doesn't heal betrayal. Standards do. If they haven't grown, you haven't missed anything. Habit 5. Treat your peace as private strategy. Don't market your emotional maturity. Don't turn your boundaries into content. You're not cold-blooded to impress people. You're cold-blooded, so people respect what they can't access at will. Live quietly. Protect deeply. Let the results of your self-control speak louder than any explanation ever could. Being cold-blooded with loved ones isn't about becoming heartless. It's about becoming smart. It's about recognizing that love without limits becomes exploitation. That kindness without boundaries becomes slavery. That warmth without walls becomes weakness. Machiavelli understood that the people closest to you have the most power to hurt you, not because they're evil, but because they know exactly where your soft spots are. They know which buttons to push, which words will make you fold, which memories will make you forgive before change occurs. Your protection isn't in loving them less. It's in showing that love more strategically. You don't give everything immediately. You don't forgive without evidence of growth. You don't stay where you're not valued simply because you're comfortable being undervalued. The cold-blooded lover is the rarest kind of person. Someone who cares enough to maintain standards. Someone who values the relationship enough to risk temporary discomfort for long-term respect. Someone who understands that real love sometimes looks like withdrawal, boundaries sometimes look like rejection, and protection sometimes looks like coldness to people who preferred you defenseless. You will be misunderstood. You will be called harsh. You will lose people who only loved the version of you that never said no. Let them go. Their discomfort with your evolution is not your problem. It's their loss of access to the old you. And the old you, the one who bled on command, who explained endlessly, who apologized first and asked questions later. That version was easy to hurt because it never learned to protect itself. The new you, the cold-blooded you, doesn't apologize for having boundaries, doesn't explain why respect is required, doesn't beg for treatment you could demand through your absence. This version of you loves strategically, gives conditionally, and stays only where appreciation matches investment. This version protects its energy like a finite resource, shares its vulnerability like an earned privilege, and treats its presence like a gift that can be withdrawn at any moment. This is how you love without losing yourself, how you care without becoming a casualty, how you stay warm without becoming weak. This is the path Machiavelli would walk if he lived in your world, faced your challenges, and loved the people in your life. Not with less feeling, but with more strategy. Not with less care, but with more conditions. Not with less heart, but with stronger walls around it. Because in the end, the people who truly love you will respect your boundaries. The ones who don't will reveal themselves by trying to violate them. And that revelation, as painful as it might be, is the most valuable gift your cold-blooded nature can give you. The clarity to see who deserves your warmth and who only wants to exploit it. Protect yourself accordingly.